It was a real blessing to me. Nothing's greater than the trust of the actors that I work with, and I have the privilege of working with, which includes everyone up here, and those who couldn't be here today. The Fighter was a new chapter, and began a new chapter of filmmaking for me, and then it unfolded from there. And it's based in these kinds of characters who are fractured from the beginning of the picture and trying to recover and redefine themselves, the entire picture. And in all three pictures, which are very different pictures, what interests me is the sense of place, their sense of their hearts, how raw and emotional they are, which can also be very funny, and also how enchanted their worlds can be, and what they love about life, what they love. That's something that I've discovered as a filmmaker is important to me, is their sense of romance or their sense of love. I wrote Silver Linings before The Fighter, but didn't get to make it till after The Fighter. And making The Fighter helped inform the making of Silver Linings. And then this film, I'd been talking to Charles Roden and Richard Suckle about wanting to work with them for a long time, and Megan Ellison, and they had this story. And so I took it and fictionalized it to resonate with the themes of reinvention that I had loved. These movies are all very important musically to me. They become more musical. Silver Linings had dancing, but this has dancing in it, and romance, and music is very important. People sing in this film, and it's a very important part of their hearts. That was the amazing thing, was I knew we could do a bigger canvas with bigger worlds, and feel very intimate and emotional. The emotional lives are what interests me in each of these three movies, and so you have the emotional world of this man. You know, I'm always struck by how an authority figure, whether it's Carmine Polito at home with his 5 children, with Dolly, and their community, who genuinely love their home and their community.
And each other.
And each other with great love and passion, and did till he died last year. A life character that we used in his story. This fella's character, you know, I meet some authority figure and you're like, wow, that's how they live. You know, and that's always a wonderful thing for me as a storyteller. Amy and I were talking about wanting to do something again since The Fighter. It began in Christian Bale's backyard. I said there's something here, and he and I were both interested in the larger idea, beyond a con artist, of what we all do. We all are directors in our lives. That interested us, that deeper theme. So you get everybody here living some invention of themselves and trying to believe in it or trying to change that invention. He found someone he knew was very dear to him chewed his tongue. So suddenly Richie's chewing his tongue, and then his whole face changes, and then his shoulders kind of hunch up because your tongue is kind of connected to your neck muscles, and then he just doesn't look like the Bradley Cooper I know. I mean, or I ever met, which was our intention in Silver Linings. And he's like this strange boy-man authority figure who loses his innocence at the end, while Christian's character is regaining, and Amy are regaining some of theirs. This guy goes from, I'm excited, he's in love with her and Irving and the way who they are. He wants to be more Manhattan, less Brooklyn. He wants to be that. And it's aspirational for him. And then all of a sudden, the needle scratches. He doesn't know where anything is anymore. He thought he had her over Irving, and now she's saying, no, this is really who I am. So now she's like, I don't know what she is. She's some creature I've never seen in film before. I mean, it's just magnetic and electric, and I thank you, Amy, for the rawness in her eyes. I think that she's saying, you know, we all do things. You know, you did them. She's justifying herself defensively, but she's also attacking him.
With very good points. You have a fiance.
Yes.
You curl your hair. She makes a good case.
And then within moments, you know, he doesn't know how to deal with it, so he goes back to the tried and true thing. And then here comes the love of her life, Irving, to reclaim her, who's got his, and we called every character like an animal, like he's like a badger, the Irving character. He moves slowly, he's just little small eyes, but he's very dangerous and very cunning. And, you know, he's very vulnerable, and he reclaims her. Now she's really vulnerable again, but she's the boss. I'm very into very, very strong women characters, and it really, yeah. And it really, I do think women are smarter than men. It doesn't mean that men don't have other great things going on. But so the women in this picture are very smart, and what I love about women is how they express their intelligence comes out in a way that completely baffles men. And that's true in my life, and that's true with what she does to him and her to Irving, both, they're all kind of like, what? You know, and meanwhile she's like 5 steps ahead of them. And the same thing with Jennifer Lawrence's character. You know, I mean, Jennifer, we didn't really get to talk about Jennifer, but Jennifer does that logic as only Jennifer can do. You know, where she lays it out for you, and you're like, you know, she's right, but it just seems so crazy. But it's so right somehow. There really was a gangster from Florida who worked for Meyer Lansky who spoke Arabic, who was Jewish, not Italian. And when I heard it, I just couldn't believe it. And then suddenly Bob De Niro is spending meticulous hours on the phone with me memorizing Arabic. His character was based on true FBI stories where one agent threatened another agent, a very square, go-by-the-book Midwestern that Louis C.K. was playing. And Louis C.K. brings his Louis C.K.-ness to the party, which is, you know, I said, let's use you as you. You know, so there was a real report where the guy goes, on this date, this guy threatened to kill me. There was real reports like that, on this case or on other cases. So we had to use that. And the passion, and one of the FBI agents has said that it was uncannily accurate, you know, to some of the things that he experienced, perhaps not just on this case, but on others. But there was a square Midwesterner that he was based on. Amy's character, Amy had to play every scene with a British accent and an American accent, and I have to say she's an extraordinary person that she did that, because that was double the work. I love when Jeremy faces off with Christian in their final scene together. And Jeremy goes from being a sincere man who truly has come to like this guy. And that was based in part on truth that those two guys really did kind of fall for each other and respect each other. And Elizabeth, she is from the same neck of the woods that I am from, and so she got the rhythm of that talking of the New York area right away, and just made that house a real entity in 2 seconds, together with Jeremy. It was a family. And she was a great power in that home and on those streets. Well, I mean, there's certainly in the history of the making of America been a lot, you know, they say behind every great fortune is a great crime, and there's been a lot of eggs broken to make a lot of omelets in this country. I'm not per se interested in the notion of corruption. I'm interested in what we've been talking about here tonight. The hearts of these people had hearts. They weren't just gangsters, you see, because that wouldn't interest me as much. I mean, they were people whose hearts were beating and were trying to live and love their lives, and that's what interested me. I started to make it up during the course of the movie so that Lewis could be Lewis, you know what I'm saying? And sort of this Midwestern guy who's trying to give like a moral lesson to this overly ambitious guy. And then it was Lewis's genius to say, what if every time Richie tries to guess, oh, that's what it, like the audience, oh, this is what this is. And every time he goes, no, that's not what it is. A lot of this is based on my memory of my dad, and God bless my dad and his world, who was a struggling New York salesman at that time. And I saw his world change dramatically during that time, where he was beat by guys who were more cunning than him. But the comb-overs and the Diane von Furstenbergs and the Halstons and the jackets with the Western yokes and the guys who dressed like these two, like my relatives in New Jersey. I knew all these people, so they just might have been pushed a little bit, like to the hottest person I saw at that party, you know, when I was 11. Christian, I liked it when somebody, very often the guys my dad was dealing with, I'm sorry, Amy, you know, it was just the guy who was like weirdly the most tacky guy from the Bronx would affect the most high-end, like British style, which kind of surprised me, you know, and that because he was like, I'm going to be this guy, and everybody was like, okay, you're that guy, you know, so everybody went with it, and nobody said anything. That's what made it fantastic to me.